My next guest is a heavy hitter in the social media and visibility space. I met her just a couple of weeks ago over at Power Table Live, and she has such a unique story and such a zest for entrepreneurship. Michelle Thames is a marketing strategist, a business coach, and social media decoded podcast host. After being fired from her job in healthcare, she turned her side hustle into a multi six figure brand that empowers entrepreneurs and executives to show up with clarity and confidence. Through her agency, her podcast, and her online community, Michelle teaches women how to be visible. Michelle teaches women how to build visibility systems that get results without burning out. Michelle, I am so thrilled to have you on the podcast today. I realize it's only been like 2 or 3 weeks since we saw each other in person in Florida, but I'm so honored to have you on the podcast today. How are things going?
Things are going great. Yes, it was so nice to meet you in sunny Florida, and I'm glad that we can make all the collaborations that we're doing happen.
I'll tell you what, that conference, and I haven't been to very, very many in like the entrepreneurship space, was incredible. I feel like the connections were authentic. The people knew the vibe. People were like literally very, very supportive and wanted to collaborate. So the fact that this is one of many podcasts that you and I are both like pursuing and collaborating on just within that one event has been really, really special. So props to Taylor on that. Michelle was a speaker at the conference, and it was really insightful to hear your story, your entrepreneurial journey, because you have been doing this for a hot minute. One of the things that I learned about you is that like you're kind of a self-taught marketer who was an influencer before an influencer was a thing. Do you want to talk about the origination of your business and your journey and how all of this started out?
So, I originally started out in 2009, back when influencer wasn't even a thing. There was a website called Blogger, so I might be dating myself just a little bit. And I created a beauty blog called Happily Ever Natural. It's still active today, and it still has like all of my content on there. But I started out with a video as well on YouTube doing my hair. Started out me doing my natural hair online, and it kind of blew up a little bit. I had one video that went viral and the opportunities opened up, and I was like, "Oh wow, I didn't know that this was a thing." Because to be honest, I have a background in healthcare administration. I went to school, I have a master's degree. I worked at some top prominent hospitals here in Chicago where I'm from, and it just didn't feel fulfilling to me. I never felt like I fit in. I just, went to school and did all the things that they say to do. And
Check the
I was
boxes.
fired from my job in 2016. And so luckily I had that blog to fall back on. I didn't have any hobbies, but the reason why I started the blog was actually because of my husband. He said, like, you need to find a hobby and like you need to do something that like makes you happy. And so I started the blog and I began to see the world of content creation and blogging and all the things, and just my eyes lit up and I was like, wow, people can make money from this. And so brands started to reach out to me. I remember the first brand that reached out to me, they sent me an email and they said, Pantene wants to pay you $200 for a blog post. And I was like, $200? Wow, like
Heard.
that a lot of money to just write a blog post on my blog. It was called Pop Sugar. Pop
Oh, I
Sugar.
remember that. Yeah.
Yeah, so Pop Sugar reached out, and that was like the first blog post that I did. It was with Pantene, and I was like, wow, people can make money doing this. And so my horizons were expanded. And so when I was fired from my job, I really, said, you know what, I can bet on myself. And so for the next 6 months, I spent time doing freelance writing. I got the opportunity to write for naturallycurly.com. So that's a top website for women with curly hair. You can do some research and search me on there and see some of my old posts. And so I decided, you know what, I really can do this. And so I went all in on my blog. I went all in on partnerships. And one day I was at an event and I met a lady and she was looking for someone to manage her social media. I had met her before, but we kind of reconnected at this event. And she was like, oh, Michelle, would you, come into the office? I want to hire you to be our social media manager. And I was like, wow, okay. This literally happened the day that my unemployment ended.
No
So,
way. Divine
yeah,
timing.
it was, and it was fate. And so I said, you know what? I'm going to take this job and, see where it goes. And I was the company's first social media manager. The owner was doing it before. And so I took that over and actually help the brand to become a household name through organic social medias. When you work for a startup, the company was a startup, you do a lot. And I was doing social media, I was doing digital, I was doing email marketing, I was going to events, trade shows. I don't know if anyone listening knows about trade shows. I was doing the trade shows, doing the photography and the videography, editing the videos. This was when Reels or TikTok wasn't even a thing. So we were just working with like horizontal videos at that point, if we can remember that, right? And so I really got to learn a lot about marketing, probably so much that I would not have learned on my own. And so my story is really different because I am self taught and I really got the experience early on to work for a startup company that is now a household name. They've recently been acquired by Procter and Gamble, and we know what Procter and Gamble is. And so for me to have a part in that is just really amazing to me. And just to look back on the work that I did, it's like really inspiring to myself. And like, that's why I keep going. It's like, no, you did that for that company. And of course, that was their dream. And I felt like, and God said, like, it was their dream and I needed to pursue my own dreams, which was to be stay at home with my daughter, which was she was 5 at the time. And so I decided to leave because no one would be able to pick her up from school. And so that's why I quit my job. And so that's a little bit about my backstory on how I even got started with marketing in general.
Yeah. And I think I always really appreciate those, whether you want to call them humble beginnings or just like things that you didn't realize in the beginning, how they would transpire over the years to come. It's really fascinating how you went from the influencer to the marketer, the in house marketer. And now you're in a place in business and in life where you have probably a number of businesses or like business models. You have an incredible podcast, a top rated podcast with almost 500 episodes, and you are helping female entrepreneurs build out their visibility ecosystems, making sense of all the noise and the chaos and helping them build their brand and their business in a way that does not burn them out. So, in terms of like how you support your current clients, what do you find to be the most beneficial service or insight to that's most beneficial to them that they're really valuing right now?
I think the most beneficial insight right now is, like you said, building that visibility ecosystem that works for you, not for everybody else, right? You might see me online and like, oh, Michelle, she's on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. But I've built those platforms consistently over time. And so if you are someone who's just starting out or even been doing it a while, I want to say don't think that you have to be everywhere. Pick one platform and really stick to that consistently because it is hard to do all of that. But I'm able to do that because I had to do it for companies and like I know it like the back of my hand, so I can. So I think one thing that's really helping a lot of my clients is we're in this messy middle, right? But we're building visibility that works for us. We're moms. Some of us have 9 to 5s. We're doing multiple things and being able to have a rhythm that works for you where you can be found online. Like you were saying for the event that I spoke at, Taylor found me online. We met on Threads. And so that is creating that visibility ecosystem that works for you, that can get you opportunities because that opportunity just came from literally like out of left field. And I was like, wow, that's so cool. Just by me showing up, those opportunities are available to me. So that's what I really try to teach my clients is that your content, whether you make it today, last month, last year, works for you consistently. And so if you just keep with the rhythm that works for you, whatever your goals are, it could be you want more clients, you want more speaking engagements, podcast interviews, that it will continue to work as long as you're consistent. So I think that's what's really working for me and for the women right now.
What I heard in your speaking session is you use the word omnipresence. And that's a word that I use very often, one in this podcast. It's literally the subtitle of the podcast. But the opportunity that omnipresence provides you, and omnipresence means being in theory everywhere. And I think it can be very intimidating to people to look at an omnipresent visibility strategy and say, I can't be everywhere all the time. And to your point, building up to that is the goal. But starting out from a place of, okay, what's going to move the needle for me that also aligns with, I don't know, maybe my strengths and how I show up best. Not everyone is meant for like live video based podcast interviews. Some people are not, they don't thrive in that environment, but they're insane writers. And so threads might be a really good platform for them, or email marketing. And so I think we share the priority and the strategy that like every strategy is unique and personal and custom to every single business owner. And you have to focus on not necessarily what Sally's doing over there and she's everywhere, or Billy over there and he's doing this and that. Like, what is going to work for you and aligns with my business is not going to absolutely make me miserable by showing up and being visible. So I love that you use the word omnipresent because I value that as well. Michelle, can you talk a little bit about your podcast? When did you start it? How in the world did you get to 500 episodes? And also, you're a top ranked podcast. So, what has been your secret to success in that?
Yeah, so I actually started my podcast during the pandemic. It had been something that I always wanted to do, but I felt like at that time it was the perfect timing because we were at home and all I had to do was figure it out, right? I had all the time in the world to figure out how to do this because I'll be honest, I had no clue how to put a podcast together, but YouTube University and Google is your best friend.
Yep.
So I decided, you know what? I have all this time. Let me really do this. And so I've always wanted my own show. Actually, when I was younger, I used to be a part of this program called Young Broadcaster. So many people may see me and be like, wow, she's so, great on, camera and she knows all these things. But it really was instilled in me at a young age. And I just really didn't tap into it when I was younger until, I was fired from my job and I got into blogging, but I decided to start my own show. I really didn't see a lot of women who had a marketing podcast, and quite frankly, a lot of Black women who had a marketing podcast. So I said, this is my number one opportunity to get into this space. I'm going to do it my way, and I'm just going to go for it. And so many of my episodes are super short and to the point. I mean, there's 3-minute episodes, there's 10 minutes, there's 6 minutes, and some are 20 minutes with my guests. But I knew that I had something to say that was valuable. And so I decided to just put it out and go for it. I designed my own cover art. I've done everything myself. And I think that the thing that has really been helpful to me to get to almost 500 episodes, which people are listening and they're like, girl, that's crazy. But it's consistency. And I knew that a podcast is very powerful. You may think that there's too many podcasts. Somebody's doing the same thing that you're doing, but realistically, there are not enough people who are consistent with podcasts. People start and they stop, which is called pod fade. And so if you're consistent, it really can help you build your brand. I feel like my podcast has been a really great anchor in helping me build my brand. I share it with everybody. And a few years ago, one day I woke up and later.com had shared my podcast as one of the top social media podcasts that you could follow. And I don't know if you all know what later.com is. It's the scheduler to help you schedule your content. I fell to the floor because I was like, wow, my hard work has really paid off. If they're seeing this and they're, sharing about it, I really have something. And so that was a really instrumental moment in me, in my podcast. And I think that has really helped to, in the beginning, at least increase my visibility. I was then also featured on several other outlets and platforms as one of the top marketing podcasts that you should follow. So I really, move forward with that and say, I have to be consistent now because people are listening and people are watching. And then most recently, I was picked up by a podcast networks. My podcast is on the Believe Network, which means that I have ads running on my podcast. So now it's not only, something that I love to do, but it's a revenue stream. And so my goal is to really make money from my podcast every month that can support me. If I could just make $10,000 a month from my podcast, that would be a dream for me. And so I want to keep going because I know what I have to say is valuable. And I think that my podcast really helps a lot of people. It's real, it's raw, it's no fluff. I'm not having you on there talking about my dog and what we did yesterday. I get straight to the point, give you what you need and leave you with actionable things that you can use and see results. And so, yes, I'm almost at 500 episodes and I love it so much.
I do too. And candidly, one of my goals, I launched this podcast in January of this year, knowing that it was a long term game, right? You're doing this to create content, to make connections, to build authority, but not just for the month of January or Q1. Like, I foresee this being a long term vehicle for those connections. But like, podcasting is not for the faint of heart. Like, these things take effort, production, and a lot of effort, especially if you care about the outcome, which I know you do. And it's obvious that it has been so successful because of that. But I think everything in terms of strategy or marketing is rooted in consistency and the discipline to follow through on achieving your goals. And candidly, girl, you just let me know when you hit that 10K month mark in your podcast. We'll celebrate. Well, the next conference we're at, we'll celebrate, we'll go out to dinner. But that's an incredible goal to have. And also highlights how you can monetize your expertise and just being great at what you do. And the fact that later.com like recognize it. And they probably did they even reach out to you whenever they put you on that list?
Yeah, like, I mean, they didn't reach out to me to tell me they were going to put me on the list. I just saw the article and I was like, "Oh my god." I think they tagged me on Instagram and I was like, "Oh my god." Like, I am on later.com. And so if you search, you'll still see it. I think they like update the article like every year, and like the most
Yeah.
consistent one, like I'm still on there. So like, hey, I'm excited about that.
Yeah. Are there any episodes or guests or like collaborations that you've done in the podcast or in the business or otherwise that like you just have loved doing or you look back on and you're like, that was such a big deal or a big driver in my success? Is there something that like lights you up about what you've done in the past?
Yeah, I've had some really cool guests. Y'all, I had Brock Johnson, and I don't know if you all know, he's like the Instagram guru. I had him on my podcast. And most recently this year, I just interviewed Flau'jae Johnson, who is a LSU basketball player. I interviewed her mother on my podcast, who reached 42 million views on one Facebook post. That was amazing. I've interviewed the CMO of the Chicago Sky. I'm from Chicago, and so I interview her on my podcast. So I have some really cool opportunities. I've got to partner with Riverside, who we're using right now. They've been a sponsor of my podcast and my events. And so that's really cool to be able to get some of those opportunities like that, like you said, just from doing what I love.
And every guest that I have, I typically do a little bit of research, like look at their most recent posts or this and that. And then I was looking at the interviews you did with Flau'jae and her mom, or like the collaborations and content with her mom, and I was just like, this is really awesome because she's tapped into a market, I believe, that is all about like the NIL market, like emerging athletes and like collegiate athletes, which is such a unique sweet spot, especially, in today's world. So I just, the alignment and the opportunities that come your way when you're consistent, I hope give people the ambition to continue trying and like to stay consistent because there's something on the other end and around the corner from being disciplined and consistent in your work while also holding up a really strong work ethic and like set of values.
Yes, and the thing is, I pitched her. So if you're listening, she did not reach out. I pitched her and her PR, and I know you do PR, so let me, toot my horn a little bit. Her PR manager was like, "Your pitch was so on point and it was so great, and so this is why we said yes." So I'm telling everybody on this podcast, if you listen, just go for it. You never know who will say yes. I literally pitched her.
It's funny you say that. I am typically not someone who gets pitched just because I am the PR gal. But now that I have a podcast and it's located in a few like databases, I actually had someone earlier this week pitch me. And I don't know her. We're in a shared community together, but I've never met her. And every single individual I've had on my podcast as a guest, I have a direct relationship. I've met them. I believe in them. I appreciate them. But like there's a mutual connection there. And this girl pitched me, and it was a wonderful pitch. She talked about my podcast. She talked about a recent episode. She talked about where we like have shared connections with and why she found it valuable, and then gave me three topics for what our podcast episode could be like. And I was like, lady, I don't know you, but you're coming on. Like, I just really value that. So good on you for doing that, Michelle. It worked out in your favor.
Totally.
What I also know about you is that you and your husband are both entrepreneurs. You're in a dual entrepreneur household. And I'm sure there's some family dynamics that are both incredible, but maybe challenging about that as well. Do you want to talk about how you and your husband navigate business and family dynamics as two very ambitious entrepreneurs?
Yes, of course. I never thought that I would be an entrepreneur. I never thought that my husband would be an entrepreneur, quite frankly. When I quit my job, I literally asked him, I said, I am overwhelmed. And like I said at the beginning of this episode, my daughter was going to kindergarten and there would be nobody to pick her from the bus at 2:15. And so we had to make some family decisions on how our life would look. Like, I do have support. I do have my mom. She lives down the street. My sister lives down the street from me and my husband's mom. But I feel that children are like the parents' responsibility. And I did not want to put that huge burden of someone picking my daughter up from school on them. And so this happened in 2019 when I quit my job. So it was right before the pandemic. And so I asked my husband, I said, you know what? We've been thinking about starting our own marketing agency. Why don't we just go for it right now? I think the time is right. I'm really stressed, and this is this is these people dream. This not, my dream. While I think it's a great opportunity, let's, see where this goes. And like, I told him, I know I can get some clients. And so he said, okay, let's do it. I didn't have like a real plan, y'all. So it was literally God, and I am a faith-based. And I said, you know what? I'm gonna be okay. Watch, I'm going to be okay. So I quit without a real plan. I did have one friend who had a business, and I said, you know what? I'm gonna ask her, does she need help with her social media? And she did. And so she was my first client. My husband has a background in education, and I don't know if there's many educators listening, but woo, it is stressful. And so he would come home every day just very tired, very drained. And he was like, I don't know how much longer I can do this. And during the pandemic, he worked. And then in 2021, I said, you know what? Just quit. I'm sure that we can do this, and I'm sure that we can handle, this together. We live a very modest lifestyle. So I just want to start by saying that we live a very modest lifestyle. I've lived in my home since 2013. Okay. So I know the market is crazy, but I'm one of those
She's got
millennials.
some equity she's sitting on.
I do. I really do. And so I'm a millennial, but we decided early on to buy a house in 2013. And that's one of the best decisions I think that we made together as a couple. And so, I told him, you know what, you could quit. I believe that we will be fine. And I think that we can definitely work together in this. And so he was able to quit his job, and we work together in our business. It doesn't like we don't have any defined roles like this is what you do and this is what I do. Like we do everything. Like he's pitching us for grant opportunities. He's got us many grant opportunities. Our business was featured on Comcast, on TV. We've got to be a part of the Chicago Sky Beyond basketball program where we won a $5,000 grant. He's pitched that. So he really has skills in pitching and doing those things, and really like getting our name out there to different businesses, but also helping my daughter with her math homework. Okay. I'm not even going to sit on here and tell you like,
And the
no.
dishes.
Yeah, and like I do not do I struggle with the math homework, but my husband is like really great at that. He's an educator, right? And so I think it's really beneficial for us to be work together as a team. We work together as a team. And so I mean, it's been really great. I mean, I don't have any horror stories. I know that some people can't work together with their spouse, but my husband is honestly my best friend. And I'm so glad that I get to do life with him. And I'm so glad that I get to do business with him too, because it's just been an amazing, amazing experience. And I think that, we just both love social media. And it just so happened, that I met somebody who I had no clue back in 2000 when I met him. We started dating in 2009. I had no clue that we would run a social media agency. We just both love marketing, both love social media, and both are good at it. And so we're running with it. We also have dreams to, help other parents who have a child who plays sports because, like you said, the NIL and all that is really big. So we've really been also focusing on building our daughter's brand. And so a part of our agency that we're continuing to build is helping other parents build their kids' personal brands, because if you're listening and you have a kid or even not, you don't even understand the world of sports, and marketing is huge. And so there's so much opportunity. So we just put one foot forward every day, to be honest, and just keep moving forward. Like we work together very well. And I think it's just a really great opportunity for me. Now, I'm only speaking for me. I can't speak for everybody, but it's been a really great dynamic.
I love that for you. I love it so, so much because you can tell that what you said was, we don't have specified roles or lanes. But what I heard is, we're operating under the same goals and vision, and therefore we just go and do what needs to be done. I agree with you about the NIL positioning for the athlete because so much of that is about shaping the narrative because that narrative can be taken if you're not managing it and be distorted by outside parties or shaped in a different way unless you have control over that narrative and positioning yourself, your brand, your child, and their brand for success to be well positioned for what comes after high school and college, and then who knows, maybe after college there's a avenue there as well. Michelle, whenever we were talking before we started recording, I told you I was so admiring your discipline and some of the systems and structures that you have in place both personally and in the business, so you can go get your workout on every single day. So your clients and people who are emailing you know when you're in and out of the office and they get this lovely automated email that redirects them to what they need. But I'm curious, how do you? How do you stay disciplined and what systems are really important for you to be successful at home and in business?
Oh, I love this. My Google Calendar is my friend. If it is not on there, I will forget about it. I literally live by my calendar. I put everything on there from going to the gym. Now, I'm going to be honest, I may not go to the gym at the same time every day, but that really just makes my day so much better. It is a mental health boost. Me and my husband, when I met him back in 2009, we've been going to the gym ever since. It's really just been something that has been foundational. And I think having an accountability partner is huge. And especially if it's your partner, that just makes it even more just rewarding because health is wealth. And if we're not showing up for ourselves, if we're not being healthy for our daughter, then what's the point, right? And so we definitely have both agreed that our health is important and that we're going to be in the gym. Like the people at the gym see us all the time and they're just so inspired. They're like, wow, y'all are in here consistently. And it may not
And
be every
consistent.
day. Yes, it may not be every day, all the time every week because we travel, we're doing all the things, but we're in there and we're in there together. And so I just, really love the gym. I mean, I like the way it makes me look and feel. So I'm going to the gym. And I think that just from an early age, discipline has just been really important to me. I mean, I was somebody who went to school, I did my homework, I did what I was supposed to do. And so I think building that muscle early on is important and it can carry you on. Like, I mean, I have a master's degree. We all know that that is not easy. Even going to school to get your bachelor's is not easy, right? And so you have to have discipline if you if you went to school and have an education background. I think that that has really shaped me. I think working a 9 to 5 has shaped my discipline because I had a job where I had to be up at 4 o'clock to catch the train at 5:45, and the train leaves at a certain time. So you have to be there. You cannot be
Can't miss
late.
that one.
You can't
Mm-mm.
miss it. And so then I had to be there, get on another train because I live in Chicago. So if anyone listening, the L train, I had to get on the Metro train to catch the L train to then walk to work every day. And I couldn't be late to work because I work for a government hospital. So it's not like I could just stroll in when I wanted to. And I think that just the different things in my life has built the discipline and the consistency. So I've taken that and put it towards my own business and the things that I want to do. So if someone is listening and they're like, this girl has almost 500 episodes on her podcast, I'm scheduling out when I'm going to record those and I'm batching those episodes. So I may batch episodes like 5 episodes in a day because I know I want to get ahead. And yes, sometimes I don't post. Sometimes I miss a week. Sometimes I miss a day, but I'm still consistent overall in general, right? And so I've definitely taken, my life skills and experiences into what I do today. And like you said, with the boundaries, I actually saw one of my friends do that in her email. I had sent her an email one day and I got an auto reply and it said, I'm doing this, this, and this. And if you want to find me here, and I was like, oh, I'm going to take that because I don't want to be checking my email every day. I mean, I do check my email on a regular basis, but I feel like if I don't respond to you in 2 days, I don't want you to feel some type of way. I want you to know why I didn't respond. It is because I am a mom. I'm running several businesses. Maybe I was napping. I mean, I like to take naps. Maybe I have to recharge. Being on is a lot. And sometimes I'm drained. And sometimes in some days, I just really do want to take a nap. And so I'm so grateful that I can do that. But just having those boundaries in place keeps me sane. I say no to a lot of things that I don't want to do, especially in this stage in my life and business. If it doesn't make sense, I'm not going to do it and stress myself out. And so I think there was a book called something about no. And then I've recently read Mel Robbins, like Let Them. Oh my goodness. It's a life changer. It just reiterated
Exactly.
the things that I already knew. Right. And so
Yeah.
that's how I'm able to, stay consistent and really, build that discipline. I'm just moving forward and just using, what I know.
Which is so powerful and typically a difficult lesson to learn, but that's a really hard thing to get over. And I think I don't know where you are in like your family. I'm the oldest daughter, and so we have this very type A, like go to school, get the degree, marry the guy, have the kids, like check the box, do the thing. And so getting beyond the shoulds in life and then reflecting back into what is best suited and aligned for me is a really important part of the process. So I'm curious, Michelle, if you can expand on things that maybe you've had to unlearn as part of this process, whether it's related to like mindset or money or business, like what has been something that you've had to like reshape your thinking on?
Yeah, and I'm actually the youngest.
You?
Yeah, well, my mom, she's such a nurturer. She actually, I have adopted brother and sister, one who is just about to graduate high school, so she's still in that parenting
In the thick
mode.
of it.
Yeah, she's still in the thick of it. So, I'm the youngest, so I don't know if that has anything to do with, my discipline or work ethic, but I just always, like I said, been someone who has been there, but I definitely had to unlearn a lot, to be honest with you. When it comes to mindset, especially when you see so many people online doing what you do, right? It's like, but you could do the same thing. Like, if you wanted to do something similar, you can do that. You just have to have faith in yourself. I think I had to unlearn so many things by working a 9 to 5. There's so many things and so many restrictions and so many ways that you're taught that you have to do things. And I definitely had to unlearn that 9 to 5 mentality. Like, you don't have to be doing something every single moment of the day. Like, that is not like when you're an entrepreneur, that doesn't always have to fly, right? So I definitely had to unlearn, like, you should be doing something at 9 o'clock, at 10 o'clock, at 11 o'clock. You need to be on your computer. Um, and one thing that I'm still unlearning is this money mindset. I think every entrepreneur struggles with that. You can make money and it can be easy. Something that comes easy to me and I make money from, I really had to get over that mindset. Like I am cheating people because like it took me 10 minutes and I made $1,000. Like, no, it's your skill set and you can absolutely make a living from doing something that you love and it comes easy to you. I think that is so great that we can do that and we have social media in this online world where you can make money doing what you love, and that is something that I absolutely teach my clients, is that your skills and expertise matter and you can make money from it.
What is the compounding effort over the past 15 years? I mean, 15 years. I think the value is there. You understand the systems. This is the reaping of the rewards for all of the hard work that you put in over the years, and now it is. And maybe it could have been easier before, but mentally we're like allowing ourselves to say like, no, I like this can be easy, and it doesn't have to be fueled by hustle all the time, though there are seasons for that. But I imagine, and I think we're all unlearning a lot about money as well. Money is this indicator of value, right? And I think in the seasons of motherhood, it's so hard to determine your success or your value or worthiness when today I have a sick kid. I told you, like, little guy's homesick. And like having to shift from the business and revenue generating activities to cuddling with your kid on the couch and making sure that like their well being is prioritized. It's all about saying like the seasons of motherhood and business, your value is not dictated by your revenue or your profit, but it can certainly be an incentive to continue being disciplined, being consistent, and showing up in ways that are incredibly aligned. And so, Michelle, one of the things that I like to ask people as part of every episode is for the woman who wants to be in your shoes, who sees where you are, sees where you've gotten, and they're like, hey, I want that. I see my life resembling what she has. I don't know how in the world to get to where she is. What advice would you give her?
Well, that's such a good question. I think that the advice that I would give any woman entrepreneur listening, or if you're working 9 to 5, got a side hustle, keep going. I think that when we stop, that's it. I cannot name the amount of things that have happened to me, the things I have had to overcome. And one thing, I know it's post Mother's Day, and my husband just said something really sweet to me, and I won't tear up, but it's like, you've been through so much, but you kept going. And so why would you stop? I think we have our little people looking at us. My daughter's looking at me. She's my why. I want her to know that she could do whatever. She doesn't have to be confined to this role or what people say or the box that they put you in. I think that as women, sometimes we downplay ourselves and downplay our skills and what we could do, but you have valuable skills. So just keep going. Like, things will get thrown at you. I don't think anybody on this face of this earth hasn't had something that has come up against them and they've been able to overcome it, whatever that may look like for you. You may be taking care of sick parents. You may be, things have happened to you, like your car got stolen, like things happen in life. And I just think that for me, it's definitely been the way that I have overcome those situations and just been like, you know what? It's just a part of life. Everything is figure outable. Every single thing is figure outable, and just keep moving forward. Put one foot in front of the other and don't think that it has to be right now. You can reap the benefits of the hard work that you're doing right now in 5 years, in 2 months, in a year. So just keep going.
And surrounding yourself with people like Michelle or the people who, when you're in the thick of those like really tough seasons, that see you and can help you. I think that's the hardest thing as a mom is to like lean on other people when you're in desperate need of support. You just don't know how to articulate it or ask for it or you're ashamed to ask for it. I think that's such a critical part that many of us learned the hard way, but that's such sound advice to just keep going. And I'm sure that is fueled by people like your husband giving you that encouragement that you needed or the peers in your space who like continue to support you even when things were messy. I think that's really, really beautiful, Michelle. So I'm so, so thrilled that you're able to come on the podcast. And honestly, like one day I'm going to be the girl that has the 20-minute podcast. I don't know when that's ever going to be, but we've made it into 30 minutes. And I'm so honored that you spent the time with us today. But before I let you go, can you tell everybody where they can find you beyond the podcast, on social, on YouTube, where
Yes, thank you so much for having me. This has been so great. You can find me on all platforms. Michelle,
everywhere?
yes, everywhere. Michelle L. Thames on Instagram, which I love to hang out on Instagram. So if you ever want to shoot me a DM, hey, my DMs are open. I'm on LinkedIn, Michelle Thames, YouTube, Michelle Thames. I have a website, michellethames.com, and my podcast is Social Media Decoded.
Oh, I love it so much. Omnipresent people. You too can be omnipresent like Michelle. Michelle, thank you again for being here today. I really look forward to collaborating with you in the future, staying in touch and growing these businesses together.
Yes, thank you for having me.